We like to pretend that we know all there is to know about our world, but the truth is that we almost know nothing about our own oceans. In fact, there are 3 species of whales that we have actually never seen. 2 we've never seen, period. 1 we've just never seen alive. Okay, the first one is the creepiest of all these. It's called the 52 Hertz blue whale, okay, also known as the 52 blue. Literally, for 3 decades, we have heard this animal over and over and over again. There's some areas that we can go and routinely hear it, okay? It gets picked up almost on the daily by U.S. Navy hydrophones, which is the headphones that they use to listen for deep ocean noises, to try to detect submarines or other anomalies. We hear it all the time. But what we don't know is what it looks like. How big is it? We have no idea. Okay, for a long time, this was believed to be a hybrid of some whale species, but the truth is we don't know. Okay, the reason why we know it's its own unique species is there's no other known whale that can produce a noise at 52 hertz. So this is a whale. This is kind of how they document what kind of whales they know are passing around from ocean to ocean. Is the hertz on their vocal range that they have. So we know 52 hertz is a unique whale sound that is coming from a specific whale that is too deep for us to see. A whole whale. You know how big blue whales are? They believe it's a species of blue whale. Do you know how big those things are? And we can't see them, but we know they're there. Imagine all the stuff that doesn't make noise. Like sharks. Sharks make no noise. What could be down there that we just don't know anything about? We know absolutely nothing. Okay? This is a creature that we hear it all the time, and we've tried to send the little submarines down and see it. It's just too deep. We can't really routinely get around there. You know, those little submarines can only use one little flashlight right in front of them. And you would think, oh, if you're hearing that noise, it must be right below you, right? No. Those noises can be heard from miles and miles away in the ocean. So the truth is, by the time we get to where the noise is coming from, they've moved again. And they can go a long period of time without making noises. So it's hard to track them. It's almost impossible. And they're so deep that we cannot ever hope to get down there. My question is, what are they eating? Because we know blue whales on the surface eat thousands of pounds of krill every day. So what is a blue whale that deep in the ocean finding enough of to eat? Is life really that abundant down there? What are they eating? There was a video that came out a few years ago of what appeared to be a ginormous whale skeleton on the ocean floor. And they found it one of the little, unmanned submarines, the little drone submarines. But the problem is the pressure is so great down there. When you try to move those objects to the surface, they tend to disintegrate. And that's exactly what happened when they tried to move pieces of this whale skeleton up to the surface, is it just disintegrated and fell apart. The next one is the cross seamount beaked whale. Now, the reason why they call it a beaked whale is because of the type of ping it gives. The only other whales that we know can do this noise are beaked whales, like different variants of beaked whales. So once again, we have another massive whale species that we have never been able to see. We can just hear it. It just blows my mind what is down there in the darkness in these trenches. Do you all know that there's oceans under the ocean? Like, that's not a myth or conspiracy. Like, there's literally like pieces where the water gets denser, and like you just have to look up videos for yourself to understand how this works. But it's like a lake in the ocean, or a ocean in the ocean. And there's stuff in there, and we can't go in there at all, period. Like, we just can't. Like, it's super creepy, it's super weird. Go look those up for yourself. The salt levels are so high in those oceans under the ocean that if anything goes in there, it just dies immediately. Like, anytime they find those down there, there will be dead fish all the way around it. But some fish can live in there just fine. But pretty much anything else just dies, like it just sudden touch. They're dead. There's too much salt. They just die immediately. Now, the spade-tooth whale is the last one on this list, and it's because we have seen their dead bodies before, but we've never seen one alive. Now, if you all didn't know that the movie 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea about the giant squid was actually made before giant squids were actually confirmed. It'd be like somebody making a Bigfoot movie right now, and then Bigfoot being confirmed to be real later. That's wild to think about, is it not? 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is quite literally a monster movie when it was made, but it wasn't a monster movie. It was just a real life creature movie. It's super strange, but we've only, and that's the way giant squids were for a long time. I think we only have like 5 or 6 viable pieces of footage of living giant squids. So this last whale that I just referred to, we've never seen one alive, period, on camera or in person. We've only seen their dead bodies. There is a whole nother world out there that we are just completely oblivious to. The other day, we talked about one of the scariest things in the ocean, and it's the fact that there is a species of whale that we can hear that's so far down there, we can't see it. We can't get to it. It's called the Blue 52 whale, and you all brought up an interesting point that I've been looking further into. Whales breathe air. We can hear it, and we know it's down there. Why is it not coming up? Why can't we track it until it gets to the surface so we can see this new species of whale that we know exists but can't see? And I've actually came to one dark conclusion after doing tons of research on this. And then I don't think it's a whale anymore. I think that something down there has learned to mimic whales. And the only reason I can think that it has learned to mimic whales is to attract them so it can eat them. Now, we know that this whale is giving off a frequency that is similar to blue whales, the largest whales in the ocean. So what could be mimicking that noise to eat something that large? My only conclusion is that something down there in the depths, dark and deep, is a true monster, and it is absolutely massive. And you all might call me crazy for believing this, but people were called crazy for believing in giant squids for centuries. And then we finally proved they were real, okay? And guess what? They are deep in those trenches. That's why we don't see them. The other thing that is possibly scarier is that the thing mimicking the blue whale noises, we know it has to be fairly large to make that much noise. But what if it's a bunch of mid-sized creatures? And when the blue whales go down there, it's just like a pack of hyenas that are all fairly large themselves. And I can't imagine, I think that is much more horrifying to think of just getting a legion of beasts just descending upon you in the darkness where you can't see your own hand in front of your face. Think about that, everybody. There are real life monsters out there. We talk about cryptid creatures and Bigfoot and all this different stuff, but there's real monsters out there. Like, have you seen the pictures of some of these things that are in the deep trenches? Like right now, wherever you're at, just imagine on this planet, the earth we share, those things exist. They're not myths. They're not conspiracies. They're not spooky stories. If you were to be able to teleport yourself into the ocean right now, you would see the most morbid, horrific creatures imaginable. And it's not a storybook. It's not a fantasy. It's what's on our planet right now. If you all missed the video I'm referring to that went viral about this Blue 52 whale and my research on it, there is a frequency, and it's called the 52 hertz frequency, because that is the I guess the sound decimal that it's giving off. We can only hear it with hydrophones, but we can hear it so routinely. We know exactly where they're at, but they're just so deep down in the ocean. We do not have the technology to get there. And if we do send those like little drone subs down, with the lights and everything, they'll just move away from it because they're very sensitive to noise. But we hear it routinely enough, we know exactly where it is, okay? They used to think this was one solitary whale because it was only heard around the same spot every time, and they thought maybe this was just a whale with a mutation, but then they found some more of them across the world. So we do know it is its own individual species of whale that is just absolutely massive. So we can hear them with hydrophones. We routinely know where they are, enough to know where there's like spots that we can routinely go and guarantee hear them. But to me, if something's playing on repeat like that, you know, I know tons of hunters. I've hunted myself. You stay in that same spot where you know that it's true and proven to get, you know, to get your target, to get your prey, and make that same decoy noise over and over and over until you get the result you want. And that's what I think spooky about it, because pods of whales travel thousands of miles. Why is this one staying in the same spot? Why is this one staying in those like same 3 or 4 locations we know of that are across the world? And I think the answer is exactly what I said my research pointed to, is that it is not a whale that's migrating and moving and trying to find mates. It's a creature that knows if I stay here, the lure works. If you like these creepy stories and these theories and all these fun things to talk about, follow us over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's called Matt from Nomads. I'll put a link in the comments section if you all want to find it. Thank you all so much for supporting these videos. I truly do want to hear your thoughts on this. And if you have any spooky theories of your own, I would love to hear them. Okay? Follow our page and stick around. We do these pretty much every day. What if I told you the Titanic actually didn't sink? Okay, it never did. Now, the event of the Titanic sinking, I do believe was a real event that happened, but I think that was the Olympic that sank, okay? And we're about to get into the crazy conspiracy theory about why that is and the real reason why the Titanic sank in the first place, okay? And it was to take over the United States financial banking system, all right? Because that shipwreck happened in 1912. Do you know what happened the next year in 1913? Income tax was introduced. Do you know how much money you would have if you didn't have your income tax taken out? the biggest moneymaker of the whole United States, financial banking system is our own citizens' income tax, okay? If I remember right, that's what we went to war over when we did the American Revolution, all right? There was 3 people on that ship that were really important men that were opposed to income tax being taken out. Now, something else important happened in 1913. It was the creation of the Federal Reserve. Those same 3 men that were opposed to the income tax also opposed that. And that Federal Reserve is owned by the Rothschild family, the most powerful family in the world. That's right, our own Federal Reserve is not owned by the federal government. It is owned by private individuals' families. Okay, that alone should tell you that this conspiracy has a lot of basis to it. Because what better way to cover up a huge assassination, a huge political assassination, and make it look like a tragic accident than having a boat sink and thousands of other people be victims as well? Because if you just took out those 3 political candidates, then you would obviously know that something was up to no good, if there's foul play involved. But when it looks like a tragedy, it's easy to cover it up. Next is you can't examine the bodies to see if did they drown, did they freeze to death, or did they take a bullet? No one's going to know because their bodies went to the bottom of the ocean. We still don't know, okay? Now, the reason why I say it might have been the Olympic that sank instead of the Titanic was White Star owned the 3 biggest ships, and the Olympic and the Titanic were the 2 biggest ones. Well, the Olympic was needing to be decommissioned, and the year before the Titanic sank, they actually got denied by their insurance company to decommission the ship, which means they would have been out millions and millions of dollars if they wanted to decommission the ship. So if you look at the Olympic and the Titanic, it is uncanny how similar they are. And a lot of people said that during that year, they just kind of remodeled it. So all that work on the Titanic was actually just remodeling the Olympic. And a lot of people said, well, wouldn't people notice? No, they had like tens of thousands of contractors in and out. So if you tell these contractors that are coming in, oh yeah, the old contractors did this part, they wouldn't know that they weren't working on an entirely new ship because it was remodeled so heavily, they didn't know any better, okay? Actually, not very many people at all would have known that this was going down, especially when you paint the ship, you replace some windows to make them a different shape. But if you look at the overall body and compare them side by side, you can't tell the difference. So what do you think happened? Do you think that the Titanic sank and it was just a coincidence that those 3 political leaders were on it and the very next year the thing they opposed became a reality and now it's our biggest crippler for financial debt? Or do you think that was just what they had in the cards? That was their master plan? And do you think the Olympic thing is also just a coincidence? Who knows? All right, this one kind of goes all over the place, but I don't believe in that many coincidences. Hey, I'm glad you're seeing us again. Today we're going to talk about otters and how beautiful these creatures are. Not. Otters are the Ted Bundy's serial killers of the animal kingdom. They're awful. They're horrible. That's right. I bet you thought they were cute. They hold hands so they don't float away. They gift each other gifts to show each other affection. But do you know what else they do? And don't mind the parrot. I'm just training it so when I find the one piece, I can be a proper king of the pirates. In fact, if you all didn't know it, in an interview one time, Steve Irwin said he had one animal at his zoo that he was afraid of, and guess what it was? His otters. And it wasn't because they just like to hug you too much. I'm just going to go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and tell you how bad this is. Otters R-A-P-E almost every animal around them. Like if they can get their little paws on them, that's what they're going to do. Even if they're already deceased. They do necrophilia. It is disturbing and gross. They're one of the only animals ever to have been observed doing this in the wild. In fact, scientists have found that their mating rituals are so brutal that's a leading reason why sea otters actually pass away is because the males will actually drown the females during this process or purposely just abuse them over and over again. But it doesn't even have to be a female otter. They'll pretty much settle with anything with a pulse or not a pulse. They've also often been observed torturing other animals. Like one otter was videoed actually biting the legs off a frog and then just watching the frog, like to see what it would do after its legs were bitten off. And then it just like followed it around. And you probably thought all otters were cute. Let me tell you something. Giant otters in South America can get up to 6 foot long. So that means that humans aren't even off the table for what I said earlier either. But surely Asian small clawed otters, the cute ones that you mostly are seeing at the zoos, surely they're nice, right? Wrong. Out in the wild where they've been observed living around the same areas that monkeys lived, they are often seen tricking monkeys to get close to the water by enticing them with food and then dragging them into the water to drown them. Not to eat them for survival, but just because they felt like it. They're one of the few animals that actually seem to relish in the suffering of others. And say you do get attacked by an otter and it scratches you or bites you and you get away. You think the encounter's over. Wrong, cuz. You better hope your skill checks are high and you roll a 10 or higher because they can inflict poison damage more than almost any other animal can. You got about a 50-50 shot of getting what's called valley fever, which can be fatal if left untreated, but mostly you're just going to get a really bad fever, be really sick to your stomach, and have swollen joints. So if you haven't guessed it already, otters belong to the assassin class. So if you guys like weird and obscure animal facts, then give us a follow. It's one of our favorite things to talk about. Here's an animal we'd all lose a fight to, and I've been terrified of this son of a gun since I watched Pebble and the Penguin when I was a kid. Hope that unlocks some memories for y'all. It's one of the scariest animals in the ocean, in my opinion, and it's the leopard seal, okay? If you guys haven't seen these guys, they can get up to 1,300 pounds. You know, you think of seals, you think of those like cute little animals you see off the piers like in California and stuff. No, the leopard seal is a silent, icy assassin. Actually, they're not all that quiet. They actually do what's called singing to help find each other because they live an incredibly solitary life, sometimes going years without seeing others of their own kind. And these 12-foot long giant bull-sized torpedoes can swim at a rate of 40 kilometers per hour. For us American, that's 25 miles an hour because we refuse to use anything but the metric system. And if you didn't know it, here in the United States, you can never be more than 135 miles from your nearest McDonald's. So a leopard seal could get there in about 5 to 6 hours. Any McDonald's, leopard seals can get there pretty fast. So what would a leopard seal eat? They'll eat penguins, first of all. That's what they're most notorious for hunting, but they like to live about 45 to 50% of their diet on krill, but they'll even go after other seals and the occasional human. That's right, several marine biologists have actually lost their life trying to study leopard seals. And this is one of the most terrifying ways to possibly pass away. The last marine biologist to be killed by a leopard seal was actually drugged 200 feet into the icy depths of the Antarctic Ocean. How horrifying. And if y'all didn't know it, like, seals are just pretty much aquatic wolves. Here's a picture of like what their teeth look like and the way their bone structure is. It's very wolf-like in shape. And on many occasions, they have actually popped rafts of tourists or marine biologists that are out there, you know, studying animals and stuff, which it's pretty weird. If you guys didn't know it, that like every country in the world, we can only agree on one thing, is that we won't let our citizens freely go to Antarctica. It's super creepy. And leopard seals are fascinating creatures. They've even been seen and observed feeding humans. There was once a marine biologist that studied this one female leopard seal for weeks, and she would, like, for days on end, bring him like other dead seals, penguins, fish that she caught for him, like just anything she could get. She was trying to feed him because she didn't think he could survive on his own, which is pretty cute, or she's just trying to fatten him up. We'll never really know, and he even admits that he doesn't either. The world is certainly a fascinating place, and I can't wait to get out there and explore it all with you. So if you guys haven't already, go ahead and make sure that you like and follow on these videos to see more weird, obscure animal facts you would never really think of. And if you haven't seen Pebble and the Penguin, it is great, but it terrified me as a child. I used to be afraid the leopard seal was going to come out of the pool drain. Like, that was the irrational fear of leopard seals I had after watching that. Our world is so strange and mysterious, we absolutely do not know what all is out there. Did you know we hadn't officially documented like an in-person sighting of a giant squid until way after the famous 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea movie? If that doesn't sound crazy enough to you, imagine us making a Bigfoot movie now, and then 60 years after the creation of the movie, we find out that Bigfoot is for sure real. That was the equivalent with the Disney 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea movie. That movie was made after a book, which came out way before it, but the movie didn't come out until the 1950s. We did not record on camera a giant squid for the first time alive until 2004. We're talking about just a couple decades ago. We didn't know if they truly still existed out there, because before then, the only proof we had of them existing was scars on whales and the fact that people said they saw them sometimes, but people say they see Bigfoot all the time right now, and we just have to, like, you know, we say that they're crazier than that's not true. That's what people did for hundreds of years about giant squids. I just pictured like the ghost of those people being like, I told you, no one believed me, but I told you. The only physical evidence that we had of a giant squid before this was in the 1800s. We found a giant beak that was essentially just a giant version of a beak on a normal sized squid. So they're like, they have to be out there, but we don't know how old this beak is. Like, is this an extinct creature? We don't know. So all of those old myths about the Kraken were just true. But people ask, why don't we ever see ships getting attacked by giant squids like the old sailors used to depict, like those old medieval paintings? Well, the answer is those ships give off tons of electromagnetic fields from their like radar navigation systems, which are essentially gigantic repellent magnets for those giant squids. That's the reason why it's so hard for us to catch a giant squid alive on camera. It's only happened about 5 times, guys. Do you know how rare that is to only catch a gigantic animal that can be over 60 foot long around 5 times on camera? It's because any electronic device repels them. So what else is out there in the ocean that we don't know about because our electronic devices repel them, and that makes them extremely elusive? Anything, like even a little small electronic device, will give off such a strong signal for them, they'll run away miles before we ever get to them. That is an insane sensitivity. Now, here's where I'm going to blow your mind. So, if you're afraid of things in the ocean, go ahead and stop watching right now, because this is going to creep you the hell out. And if all these facts weren't scary enough, we discovered a new squid called the colossal squid on March 9th of this year, 2025. Now, we knew this squid existed because we have found bits of its bodies in the stomachs of giant sperm whales, which do battles with these giant squids and these newly found colossal squids. These colossal squids, guys, this is a new creature, by the way, that we've only filmed once ever this year. It's over 1,000 pounds and like 20-something feet long. What the hell else is down there that we don't know about? If something that big, I mean, you're talking about 1,100 pounds just gliding through the ocean, 20-something feet long, and we just now, for the first time ever, filmed it? God, what is out there? And just in case an 1,100 pound, 23 foot long alien squid isn't scary enough, it has a weapon. So for decades, we've been perplexed on how these scars get on these whales. And we knew that giant squids leave those ring scars, but we never knew how they were getting these like corkscrew scars. These squids on their tentacles have hundreds of rotating blades that they can literally spin like a drill. They look like giant teeth, and they can spin them 360 degrees and bore in like a drill. Why would they need something like that? They're already big as hell. What the hell? Like, what? If you like this weird, obscure animal knowledge, follow the page. We'll try to keep you updated. I'm disturbed. I'm getting off here. We're going to talk about one of the scariest places in the whole world. It's called Point Nemo, and it's an oceanic desert. If you guys didn't know what oceanic desert was, it is a place that is completely devoid of life. So what's so scary about Point Nemo is it is the furthest point you can be from any landmass in the world. I mean, if you're out in Point Nemo, you are truly in isolation. And you think, maybe I could just drift to land eventually. No, you won't. You are literally thousands of miles away from the nearest landmass. And not only that, if you guys ever watch One Piece, you'll know what the calm belt is. It's kind of like that. There is almost no ocean currents out there, and winds can go all over the place. So if anything, they say that you will drift in a triangle pattern. So you actually will never really get out of there. You'll just kind of keep going in a triangular shape, because that's where all of the different currents meet up. Because of this, it's essentially a giant landfill out in the middle of the ocean. There's tons of like just debris and garbage and just a bunch of other junk. So even if animals did live there, they would want to just go somewhere else. But there's really nothing going on under the water either. There's a few crabs and like a few small fish. But other than that, there is no notable marine life. And this is kind of like a trickle up effect, because there's no currents really coming in. There's no like nutrients or like stuff coming in the water that other things could eat. So they just leave and go somewhere else. So think about like, you know, the pyramid, but reverse it. When there's no small stuff, there's no medium stuff, so there's no large stuff. So I mean, on the bright side, if you're stuck at Point Nemo, you're not going to get eaten by a shark, but just literally no one is ever going to find you. There are no shipping lanes or airplane lanes or anything that would go over this point for literally any reason. So there's no chance that anyone's going to find you. Not only that, but the weather there is incredibly harsh. At nighttime, it's going to be freezing or below. During the day, it can be increasingly hot. And then also, even though it's like there's not a lot of currents there, it doesn't mean it's not wavy. It just kind of sloshes, but it's like water in a bathtub. It's really not going anywhere. It's just sloshing around because these currents are hitting from all these different angles. So it's going to be very rocky, very cold, then very hot. So there's really no good way that you are going to be able to get comfortable in hopes that somebody maybe will come rescue you, which they're not going to. The last craziest thing about Point Nemo, which Nemo means no one in Latin, by the way, so like no one's there. The last crazy thing about it is known as a satellite graveyard. That's right. When all the countries of the world decide that they're going to crash their satellites, or when the return ships from space come back, that's where they crash them, right in the middle of the water. So you're like, oh, someone's coming to save me. Oh, God, no. And then you just get hit by like, you know, some big piece of NASA.